And we are going to do that right now. Also, we have an exceptional, wonderful volleyball season to celebrate. And we have a volleyball player. So, and volleyball manager. So, have a cookie if you want one. If not, just pass them on. And congratulations to volleyball. All right. Number one. Notice, no calculator. This test is in two pieces. You're getting used to that. No calculator. Write the equation of a polynomial whose roots are 3 and 5i. Tell me what you know.
This is going to kill me, Miss Ford.
Why would it?
I'm just asking.
I did not put any bad things in. I mean, does it have butter in it? Yes, that will clog your arteries. Sugar, you know.
But nothing like soon, you know.
All right, thank you. Okay. Yes.
Give me a negative 5i.
So if 5i is a root, so is negative 5i. Okay? Those are roots. So what are the factors? If I'm going to write an equation, I need the factors. What are the factors going to be? X minus 3, X minus 5i, and X plus 5i, right? In any order, the order you write those doesn't matter. Does everybody get that? Those are the factors. Now, we're going to boil it all together. I suggest you start right here. You don't have to, but I think it's easier. So we have x squared plus 5ix minus 5ix minus 25i squared. The reason that I wanted to start with these two is because this is going to simplify a lot. These cancel, first of all, because these were conjugates. And what about negative 25i squared plus 25? That still needs to be times by the x minus 3. X cubed minus 3x squared plus 25x minus 75. There is your polynomial. So write the equation of the polynomial. There it is. Anybody have a question about that?
Why did we do 5i twice?
We didn't do 5i twice. We did 5i and negative 5i because they always come as conjugates. They always come as conjugates. Number 2. When you read this question, this needs to pop out at you. You are writing the equation of a line. And to write the equation of a line, what do we need to do first? Find the slope. Now, recognize that these are function values, but they're really just ordered pairs. What ordered pair is this? 1, 3. Because f of x, whatever is in the parentheses, is the x, right? So this is 1 comma 3 and 3 comma negative 1.
Yeah.
So the slope, y minus y over x minus x. I got negative 2. Did you get that? Negative 2 for the slope. So then what happens? So now I'll do point slope. You can do whatever form you want. I like to do point slope. So y minus my y coordinate equals negative 2, x minus your x coordinate. So I'm ending up with negative 2x plus 5, I think. So my linear function is f of x equals negative 2x plus 5. Writing the equation of a line. You've been doing that since you were probably 12. All right, good? Number 3, is 3 an upper bound of this thing? And then explain your answer. So what are we gonna do to determine if it's an upper bound? Synthetic division. Keep your eyes open. 2, 0, -8, 5. See that tricky little piece there? When you do synthetic division, you must have every power represented. Out here in the box, we'll go with 3, and here we go. Alright, I think I did that right. Does that look okay to everybody? So, is 3 an upper bound? Yes, why? All the powers are positive. I mean, all the powers, all the numbers are positive. This is all positive now. Number 4, list the possible rational roots. And the key here is the word list. So ultimately, I want to have like a list of numbers, okay? So here we go. How do we find the PRR? Possible rational roots, PRR. Factors of 6. Don't forget the plus or minus. Factors of 6 over factors of 2. Now, when I go to make my list, this is easy. Take all of these numbers and put them over 1. Okay, that's just gonna be 6, 3, 2, and 1, right? Now, take all those numbers and put them over 2. Well, 6 over 2 is already in the list, but 3 over 2 is not. 2 over 2 is in the list, but 1 over 2 is not. So there is my list, my actual list of individual numbers. Is x plus 1 a factor of this? Well, how do you think I'm going to figure that out? Synthetic division. And what's going to go in the box? -1. And watch, make sure you don't have any missing things. I don't think I do, so I don't have any zeros this time. But always, always, always keep your eyes open, okay, for that possibility. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so did I make a mistake? Okay, so what's the answer to the question? No, it's not a factor, because why? I didn't get a remainder of 0. I got a remainder of -25, which means it didn't divide in evenly. Okay, everybody still with me? So far, pretty easy. All right, solve. Well, you notice anything about that guy? You can actually group it, can't you? Right? So let's just group it. So we can take out an x squared. Take out a -4. Everybody okay with that part? So then we have x plus 3 and x squared minus 4. And what do we know about x squared minus 4? X plus 2, x minus 2, right? If we factor it completely. So what are the solutions? It said solve, x equals -3 and plus or minus 2, -2 and 2, yeah. Another way of saying solve is find the zeros. These are the zeros. These are the things that make the equation equal to 0. All right, let's look at the next one. What in the heck? What kind of an equation is that? Quadratic. How do you solve quadratic equations? You can try to factor it, it doesn't factor, it doesn't, don't do it. You'll mess it up, it doesn't factor. So you can always use the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now this is on the no calculator part, so you are going to have to do this arithmetic by yourself, but I'm confident that you can. This is gonna be negative, or actually positive 28. And 64 and 28 is gonna make 92. And what's 92?
Divided by 2.
Yeah,
7.
so it's 92 is 2 times 46, isn't it? And that's 2 times 23. So 223. Yep, do the triangle. So we're gonna end up with a final answer, after we do all that messing around, of negative 4 plus or minus root 23. Right? All right, x cubed plus 3x squared plus 9x plus 14. This looks exactly like A, this one, oh, the one I just erased, except this one does not factor by grouping. So what do we do when we can't factor it by grouping? We guess a number and use synthetic division. Now, this one's actually quite nice, because what are the numbers we're gonna be guessing? 1, 2, 7, and 14, right? So anybody have it? Oh wait, also, do you notice how all of these numbers are positive? So I better pick a negative number, because that's the only way things will be canceling out to get 0. So maybe negative 2. We have good luck with 2s, let's try 2s. Oh yep, we did it again. Perfect. So what does that mean? That means that one of your answers is negative 2. Remember, if you guess wrong, you guess again. And you just keep guessing until you guess right. All right, now what? We take what's left, which is x squared plus x plus 7. And if it factors, we go ahead and factor it. If it doesn't factor, guess what we get to do? The quadratic formula again. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Oops, I think this one's going to be imaginary. Do you think that? Did I get that all right? So that's going to be what? The square root of negative 27. So pull that I out. So negative 1 plus or minus I root 27. Does 27 break down into 3 radical 3? So what goes into the answer blank? What goes into the answer blank is the one we guessed, right there. And then the two we just figured out right there. Right? Oh, rolling through this. Okay, number 7. Find the remainder. Okay, now. Normally, when someone says to me, find the remainder, the first thing that pops into my head is, let's just divide, right? I don't really want to divide this problem because why?
A lot of zeros.
A lot of zeros. Could I do that? Yes. If all else fails, people, dividing will work. If you were going to divide, what would go in the box out here? Positive 1. Instead of dividing, if all you want is the remainder, if you just want to know what the remainder is, all you have to do is treat this like a function and plug in the number that you were going to divide by. So if I plug in 1s, 1 to the 50th is 1. 1 to the 27th is 1. 10 times 1 minus 3. And that's going to give me the remainder. So I plugged in 1s. Obviously, if it all equaled 0, it would be a 0 of the polynomial. It would be a root. It would be a factor. Well, it didn't equal 0. It equaled 7. So that's the remainder. The remainder is 7. Now, you don't want to do that in problems like I'm erasing, because all that does is give you the remainder. It doesn't give you that x squared plus x plus 7 thing. So if you need to know what's left over, you need to do the division. But if all you want's the remainder, that will work.
When we're writing out the answer, should we write 7 over?
It's up to you. I don't really care. Technically, yes, it is, but I'm not gonna count on points. No, I want everybody to pass. How about we all get A's? Wouldn't that be lovely? It's up to me. Okay, we are now going to sketch this polynomial. The good news is it's already factored. So, I already know where my x-intercepts are. Is what I'm doing looking familiar to you? Those are my x-intercepts, right? Now I'm going to start connecting the dots. I'm either going to come up from the bottom like this, or I'm going to come down from the top like this. How do I decide which one it is? By the degree of the equation. So how many x's are in this equation? 4. 4 is even. Even is like a parabola, up. So this is coming in like this. Now the only time that could be different is if we put a negative out in front, right? Because if you put a negative out in front, then that turns everything upside down. So instead of being up, it would be down, down. This one is not negative. It is a 4th degree polynomial, so it comes down like this. Now, when it hits this point, I have to decide, am I going to go right through, or am I going to bounce off? Well, I'm going to come up here and look at my polynomial. That dot came from this factor. That isn't squared, so it's just going to go right through, isn't it? And then it's going to come around and it's going to connect to that one. They always connect. So now I have to decide again, what am I going to do when I hit this one? Well, it came from here, so it's going to go right through and connect. And then when I hit that one came from this factor, which is squared, So it's gonna, don't go through and turn around, it just bounces right off and heads back up. And that's your sketch. Write an equation for a quadratic function with a vertex of -2, 1 and containing 4, 6. A quadratic function is a parabola, right? And I'm just gonna think about parabolas that I graphed before, like in the last unit. In the last unit, I had equations that looked like that. Wasn't that a parabola? And where was the vertex of that parabola? Left 1, down 7. You're writing the equation now, backwards. So this says I have a vertex at -2, 1. So what's my equation look like? If the vertex has gone left 2 and up 1, don't I have to have x plus 2 squared, it's a parabola, square that x, and then up 1 would be plus 1? Now, what's missing? What's missing is, I don't know about this guy. I don't know if my parabola's up or down, I don't know if it's fat or thin, I need to know that number. Well, how do I find that number? Plug in the other point. Remember, when you build your equation, kids, you gotta use the vertex. That other point, 6 is y, and 4 is x. That's the one I'm gonna plug in to find my n. PEMDAS, 4 plus 2, squared. So this is 36n right here, plus 1. So it looks like my n is 536. And that's the answer to the question. A quadratic function is a parabola. Squaring function, quadratic function.
It says write the equation, but did you just write y is equal to 536 x plus 2 squared plus 4?
Right here.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay, number 10. An object is thrown vertically so that its height above the ground is given by that equation. Now notice, and on the paper it says S of t, I made that H of t, doesn't matter. No. And I like H because it reminds me that's height. When does it reach its maximum height? Stop right there. This is no calculator, so you're not gonna be graphing this and all that, second calc max stuff. No. Think about, this is a squared equation, which means it has what kind of a graph? A parabola. It has a negative, don't get confused, it's kind of backwards. It has a negative coefficient, which means it's a parabola opening down. So when they say anything about the maximum, aren't they just talking about the vertex? I need to find the vertex of this parabola. How do I do that? How do I find the vertex? Negative b over 2a is the easiest way, not the only way, but the easiest way. So again, be very careful, make sure you got your numbers in the right order. Negative b over 2a, what is that, 5/2? I think. So whatever my vertex is 5/2, comma something. And how do I find the something? plug it in. So I have -8 times, okay, what's 5 halves squared? 25 fourths. Plus 40 times 5 halves. Kids, you can do this. 4 goes into 8 twice, isn't this -50? Plus 100, I think it's 50. Why did I find the vertex? Of all the things I could have done, why did I find the vertex? Because it said maximum, right? It said maximum. So let's answer the questions. When does the ball reach its maximum height? When? When does it reach its maximum height? 2.5 seconds. So that when, the time, that's t, that's x, that's t. The when is 5 halves seconds, or 2.5 seconds. How high does it go? 50 feet. X is the time, the t. Y is the height. When does it reach its highest point? 2.5 seconds. What is its highest point? 50 feet. When does the ball hit the ground?
0.
Why did you say 5 seconds, Jake?
Because at 2.5, it's at its maximum. Parabola goes down.
Parabolas are symmetric. This one was thrown from ground level because it doesn't have an initial height out here, remember? So if you're thinking about it like Jake is, this is the way the picture looks. And he says if it took it 5 half seconds to get up, then it's going to take it 5 half seconds to get down. So that is excellent thinking, Jake. I can tell by the looks on some of these people's faces, they do not have a clue what we're talking about. So I'm going to give you another option. If you want the ball on the ground, doesn't this have to be 0? So just solve this equation. That equation factors, you take out an 18 and be left with 5 minus t. So either t equals 0, that's the first time it's on the ground, or t equals 5, that's the second time it's on the ground. Now, a word of caution. Jake's theory only worked because the ball started on the ground. Obviously, if the ball had started up in the air, right, then this distance is not going to be, this distance is not the same as this distance. So, as long as the ball started on the ground, what Jake said is perfect. If you don't want to do it Jake's way, if you're worried about doing it Jake's way, set the equation equal to 0 and solve it. Because you want it to be on the ground, so its height has to be 0, right? And it's on the ground. All right, one more no calculator. The volume of gas varies inversely with the pressure. Okay, when we talked about variation, we talked about a situation where one variable equaled k times another. So in this case, volume equals k times pressure, or volume equals k over pressure. Remember that? Those were the setups for direct and inverse variation. So if two things vary directly, that's our setup. If they vary inversely, that's our setup. So we just gotta read the question. Okay, this is a varies inversely, so I'm not using that one, I'm using this one. write an equation for the relationship. Bingo. That's it. That's the equation for the relationship. Then, find the constant of variation, that's K, when the volume is 100 and the pressure is 10. Well, that's easy. What's your constant? 1,000. Okay, now let's get our calculators out. Connor forgot 2 apostrophes, so his wonderfully kind teacher deducted 12 points. So 2 apostrophes were 12 points. On another assignment, he forgot 3 apostrophes and he lost 38 points. 4 was 82, and 7 was 382. Using the cubic regression feature of your calculator, write an equation describing the relationship between the number of missing apostrophes and the number of points lost. Okay, so that's the first task. Write an equation describing that. Okay, so remember how to do this? Where do we go? Stat. And edit. Now, I already have stuff in mind, so I'm going to clear it out. So go ahead and clear it out if you want, or you can type over it too. Either one will work. And then L1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and L2. Once we get our L1s and L2s in there, anybody remember what we do next? So I don't know, I'm the new calculator. I have to exit out, then go back into stat and over to calc. And then down to, it tells me to use cubic regression, right? Yeah. So press cubic regression, and then you guys with the new calculators, you gotta like go down to calculate or whatever, and you're gonna come up with, well, I'll tell you what my screen says. My screen says A is 1, B is negative 3.4, e to the negative 11th. This is what my screen says. What is this? This looks very strange. What is that? 0. That's the same as 0. That's something times 10 to the negative 11th. That is effectively 0. Right? So what does that mean in terms of my cubic equation? It means I have 1x cubed, I have no x squared, I have 7x minus 10. That is my equation for my cubic. If you're confused, notice at the very top, it tells you what to do with A, B, and C, guys. It tells you right on the calculator. It says A is the x cubed number, B is the x squared number, C is the x, and D is the number. So there's my equation. Now, the second part says, how many points will he lose if he forgets 5 apostrophes? Well, where does the 5 go? In for x. So we're just gonna do 5 cubed plus 35 minus 10. He's gonna lose 150 points. So first thing we did was write our equation, or we didn't write it, we let the calculator write the equation, and then we plugged in 5. All right, let's get these last 3 done, so we'll have time for some questions. Here we go. CJ's company determines that the supply function is 5 plus 0.001 p squared. And the demand function, that should be d of p, that's a typo, sorry about that. D of p equals 10 minus 0.02 p cubed. And p is the price of each device. Find the price where the supply will equal the demand. Set them equal to each other, isn't that what that means? Don't I just need 5 plus 0.001 p squared to equal 10 minus 0.02 p cubed? Isn't that what I need? Now, you need to solve that on your calculator. So, 2 options, and it does not matter how you do it. You need to do it how you can do it. One option is to go to y equals, right, where we put stuff in the graphic, go to y equals, and put this in as one equation, put this in as the other equation, and then look for where they cross. So if that's how you like to do it, that's how you're going to do it. The other way to do it is to get everything on one side of the equation. So I moved everything over to this side. And graph one equation. Now, if you do this, what will you be looking for? Because nothing's going to be intersecting. You're going to have one equation where it crosses the x-axis. So if you do this way, you're going to second calc intersect. If you do this way, you're going to second calc 0. So either way, you're using basically the same buttons. So one way or the other, do it. You're probably going to have to play around with your window a little bit. Nobody can do that but you, though, so tough it out. Anybody get an answer yet? I'm looking for an x value, by the way, to be a p value, an x value. I got 6.28. Anybody else get that? Yeah. So what does p stand for again? It probably tells you p is the price of each, whatever it is I'm selling. What does the question want to know? Find the price? So the answer is $6.28. And Mrs. Ford has 60 pounds of scrap paper. That I'm going to sell to Mr. Knoll. Each day I wait to give a quiz, I accumulate 10 more pounds. Present price is $2 a pound, but each day I wait results in a 25-cent decrease in price. How many days should you wait so you can sell her paper to earn the maximum income? Okay. problem on the test is actually on the no calculator part. So let's try to do this with no calculator. All right, so right now, how much money would I make? Right now, what would my income be right now? I got 60 pounds to sell, and I'm selling it for $2 a pound. So right now, it's under 20. But what's happening to my supply of paper? Actually, it's going up 10 for every day I wait. So it's gonna go up by 10x increments of 10. And what's happening to the price? It's going down in increments of 25 cents, 0.25. Now, think about if you FOILed that out. What kind of an equation would that make if you FOILed it out? Wouldn't it make a quadratic? And wouldn't the x squared term be negative? Which means it's a parabola opening down, and I want to maximize something, so aren't I really just looking for the vertex? Right? So one option is just to multiply, yeah, FOIL it out. So 120 minus, that's 15, I think. So negative 2.5x squared plus 5x plus 120. That's what I ended up with. So if I want the vertex, negative b, oh wow, what's 2a? What's 2 times 2.5? Isn't that just 1? Now, what does that 1 stand for? How many days I should wait? Before I do any more work, I want to read the question again. How many days should I wait? 1. I'm done. Now, if it asked, what will the price be? Then I would have to put 1 in here and figure out the new price. If it asked how much paper will I sell, I would put 1 in here and figure that out. But in this case, I'm done because it just said how many days should I wait, and that's what my x stood for. Right? Now, another option to do this problem, I'm not trying to confuse you, but going back to Jake's idea. If I set this factor equal to 0, right here, would you agree that negative 6 would make that 0? Negative 6 would make that 0? And then what would make this 0? 2 divided by a 4 is 8. So I have a parabola that looks like that. The axis of symmetry is going to be halfway in between, or it's going to be right, and it's going to be the midpoint. It's going to be the midpoint of negative 6 and 8. Well, negative 6 plus 8 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that's another way to get the vertex if you want, straight from the factors. Set each factor equal to 0 and find the midpoint. It's another option. We don't need to be confused. If we understand this, then do it this way. All right, last one. Back to the calculator. This is calculator problem. Taylor lives in the house below. She wants to enclose 2 sides of the yard so that the total area of the house and the fenced-in yard is that big number. Find x, the distance between the house and the fence. Okay, so the picture is drawn. The house is 30 by 60. We're adding on, we're fencing in part of it here, like this. And, the total area, so the whole thing is, 10384. What shape is that? How do you find the area of a rectangle? Length times width. So here we go. What is, let's do this one first. What's this width right here? That's 30 plus x. Everybody in agreement? What's this length right here? 60 plus x. So 30 plus x times 60 plus x has to be 10384. Now, you've got your calculator. This actually is a quadratic equation. Would you agree with that? So if push comes to shove, you can multiply it all out, set it equal to 0, and use the quadratic formula, right? What else could you do? You could graph it on your calculator. So like, this could be one equation. You don't need to multiply it out if you're going to do that on your calculator. This would be one equation. This would be another one. That's a big Y, so that window's gonna have to be big. And then look where they cross, right? That would be another option. You could also go ahead and get it in standard quadratic form, multiply it out, subtract this over, set it equal to 0, graph it, and look for where it crosses the x-axis. All those are options, all right? So we got 5 minutes, figure out how you want to solve it and get it solved. You have a calculator, so as long as you're showing me what you're doing, you know, through whatever work you're doing, it should not be an issue here. Let's see. You're doing your thing and I'm doing mine. We are not necessarily doing the same thing. This actually works out nicely. Did you get 58 for X?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, well that's awesome. What does the question want to know? Find X, the distance between the house and the fence. So the answer is 58. Now, there actually are two answers to this. Did you notice that? But one of them is negative, and that doesn't make any sense. So that's why we picked the positive. What's 1800 minus that?
Oh, you gotta set it equal to 0.
I did. You don't have to. If you're gonna use the quadratic formula,
Yeah, that's
you
what
have to. Yeah. Okay? Alright, so now what I'm gonna do is hand back some homework papers that I have. And then I want to make a list. I want you to start thinking about what we just did. Okay, guys? Because we just did every skill on the test is you just practiced. So, I want you to think about it. If you're not, especially if you're not going to be here tomorrow, you need to make a list of the kinds of problems you need to do tomorrow. Now, yes, your test test is posted. Your test is, I don't have time to look it up now, it's posted. Emma knows because you didn't send a time form already, Emma, when is it? Thursday, the test is Thursday. Office hours will be held tomorrow. You guys have to come to school anyhow. I know you don't have to come to class, but you have to be in school tomorrow morning. So feel free to come in for office hours. All right. Yeah, I read that. That was a note for me. Yeah, I just happened to have your paper on top when I was doing it. Sorry about that.
I'm just wondering.
You now know who I stopped in the hallway and really attention to. Okay, so seniors, quickly, I want you, I've got two more papers handed out. I want you, if there's something you want me to do tomorrow on a review video, I need you to be making a list right now because I'm gonna write it down in just a second, as soon as I'm done handing these papers out. Or, yeah. All right. So these are just math. All right, so who thinks there's something, some kind of problem that we need to, do juniors, don't participate, because we're going to be, doing that. Yes. 2.5 homework, number 1. All right, what else?
Number 4 on the Precal A review, 2.1 to 2.5, which is back to this.
Go back to what we just did. Which one?
Number 4, the really one happening.
Okay, but it's not on the vision. Remember, I just told you how to do that. You don't have to, but I'll do it. That's already been covered. All right, anything else? Otherwise, you just get what you get when I review. Okay, see ya. Remember, if you get back in time, you can go ahead and come to class.
I think it was the responsiveness thing. I was totally fine with that. I don't
Okay,
know.
so that's what I said.
My brain is weird, it's weird.
If you are extended time, please get the form in. Do not wait till the last minute. That isn't fair to me. Oh, that goes to Mrs. Whistler in admissions.
Okay.
If she's not in there, she has a little like thing on the outside of her door that you can.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
This is 4.
Yes.
So the rest of the week, we're just reviewing and taking the quiz, correct?
No, tomorrow we're reviewing, Friday we're taking the test, maybe we're going to class, Thursday we're taking the test. Friday, if we have class, we'll have a lesson, but I don't know if we have class on Friday. Because it seems like 3 days in a row, it seems like that would be an off day. Yeah, so that's it, why are you asking?
Okay, I'm on retreat.
Okay, great. All right. All right, I need to, take attendance since I haven't done that yet today. Yep,